Well, like I said, I thought it was because I talked to the other guys that I hadn't seen in forever.
Well, you wouldn't have known. Yeah, I mean, I come by and just caught you at the corner of my eye. Sent the lady over there, and you almost just finished it up.
Yeah, they were wondering, waiting on taking so long. Normally it's so quick with everything.
Yes.
Service is always tremendously quick.
Yeah, we like haven't been back.
They've been there once, and then and we also go to Lockville, Texas, down Richmond Road.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess it's closer for you than back towards Don Miguel.
Yeah. And plus, all of our travel, and I work in Winsburg, wife kind of gravitates that way, so most everything we do from the James City to Winsburg.
I like the patronage down there. I feel like I get better service in Williamsburg most of the time than I do Richmond. It's about the same for me either way.
Right. Yeah, they're tremendously fast at the Taco Mexicali. And it's not just one person helping you, it's usually 3 or 4.
Yep. Good to see you.
Check for
Or soft drink.
no,
Kenny, Kenny, you ready? Good evening. I'm calling to order the April 15th, Tax Day, 2024 meeting of the Planning Commission to order. If we could have a roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Ms. Townsend,
Here.
Ms. Johnson,
Here.
Mr. Moyer,
Here.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Here.
Ms. Thomas,
Here.
Mr. La Rochelle,
Here.
Dr. Schmidt, Mr. Davis,
Here.
Ms. Rose,
Here.
Reverend Hathaway,
Here.
and Mr. Bennett.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Skip the procedure here. If we could, let's stand for a moment of silence and a pledge to our flag. Please turn with me as we face the flag and repeat as we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda for tonight is approval of the minutes from the February 20th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. And I think I'll start with Mr. Davis. Any comments, corrections, or amendments to that, please?
I'm sorry to disappoint, but I have none.
Okay.
Mr. Larshell's been carrying that lately. So.
Okay. Okay. Is there anybody else who has any edits, changes, or corrections to the minutes from the February meeting?
Well,
Yes,
Mr.
Ms.
Chairman,
Townsend.
if I hear no corrections that need to be made, I make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you. The motion is to approve the minutes. Roll call, please.
Yes, to approve the February 20th, 2024 minutes. How say you, Mr. LaRochelle?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Rose? Aye. Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye.
Ms. Townsend? Aye. Reverend Hathaway?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Did I miss anyone? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, not a problem. That's fine. We skipped a month too, so. Next item on our agenda is presentations, but I assume we have none, correct? Correct. Okay. And then unfinished business, I see we have not. Oh, excuse me, I'm going all over the board. Appreciate that. Citizen comment period is next, and there is none, so thank you. Unfinished business, I do not think we have any unfinished business at this time, maybe next month. Public hearings, we have none. We're moving right along. New business, consideration of a waiver request for fire station number 6. Is there any presentation on that?
Kenny will have it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and planning commissioners. I'm here before you for a waiver from RRMM Architects to Section 98-1069A4 of the New Kent County zoning ordinance for the fire station apparatus for bay doors that will be facing Route 60. As you're aware, we now have a Commerce Corridor overlay. On our Commerce Corridor overlay, you can't have bay doors facing the street. Right now, New Kent County, we're trying to put this new fire station in the Bottoms Bridge area. The point is, if we don't face it to the street, our response times will be slower. So we need to face the bay doors to the street, and that's what this is all about, in simple form. Do you have any questions of me? Did I simplify it enough?
Mr. Vaughn, from looking at the drawing, I assume that it will be glass doors. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Vaughn, is this a drive-through, so you'd come in through the back?
No, you'd be coming through the front.
No, with the fire trucks. They'll be going out from the front, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But they'll drive in from the back and come through?
Yes, ma'am.
I said no backing up.
No backing up.
That-
Well, my concern with this, obviously from an emergency response standard, I understand this, but we implemented these standards and, I don't want this to come across as a county telling people to do as I say, not as I do, where I realize any citizen can apply for a variance. I wonder how many will be approved down the road. If this lot wasn't suitable for optimal ingress, egress of the fire station, maybe it should have been placed someplace else, or is there a plan? Can this be repositioned on the lot if needed?
I really can't answer that, but maybe I can answer. When they did this, I don't think they were thinking about a fire station. I think a fire station was the afterthought. That's why they put in, if anybody has any problem with the ordinance, they can come before you. So anybody that has a problem are able to come before you. But first, they have to come before me first, and I have to say, that is reasonable. Because, you know, when doing things like this, I try not to bring you any and everything. I try to bring you things that make sense. And when they said response times, Kenny, and if you have a heart attack and you need an extra minute, and I didn't give it to you, you're going to wish you had that. So to me, that convinced me. I think you need to see this.
Mr. Vaughn, I think one of the things I know Chief Opet had mentioned that the three bay doors line up perfectly with the already constructed at the park and ride, the through street there. So they'd come right out of that and could go right or left through that. So that's one of the reasons why it lines up that well. So,
Yes, sir.
but
Any other questions?
Just a general comment. I mean, having a fire service background, obviously, it's and I understand Mr. LaRochelle's position as well. But I know that, especially with the glass doors, the ability to see the fire trucks, the equipment inside, I think it does give a little sense of ownership for the community to see that there, and maybe also too gives and I don't know if there's going to be an emergency light there or not. Don't know the details on that.
I think so, yes, sir.
But anyway, the public would see them coming out maybe a little more quickly too, you know, with that approach. So they can see the equipment coming down the ramp. So it's a nice looking station, I'll say. So.
Ms. Rose?
Well, I share his sentiment as well. I understand Mr. LaRochelle's position, but I think in this case, public safety should play a bigger role in the application of the ordinance.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. If I may interject a few comments too. I believe, in my vision, bay doors on the front of fire stations are iconic. They represent a safety refuge. They represent that there are people with responsibility that they'll put their life before yours to help you out. I think they're just as iconic as the stars on the flag, or the funnels on the SS United States, or James Bond and Aston Martin. So to me, it's very sensible. It's iconic. It represents safety and a place of refuge if needed. So I'm fully in support of this.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other comments on this note.
Reverend Hathaway, I thought you were getting a motion here. I mean,
I was just trying to think of what other option if someone else came in and wanted us to give a waiver. And I'm thinking if a business came in, you would look to make sure that we didn't have this problem first.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if the business said, well, this is the only thing that fits, you'd still have to be convinced that that's correct.
According to the orders, they have to convince me before I come to you.
Sure. That's good.
thank you, Reverend Hathaway. Yes, Ms. Townsend.
Well, back to where I was going to say.
Thank you.
If there's no other comments, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Please.
In order to address and protect and promote the public convenience, necessity, and general welfare, and the good zoning practices in the county, I move to adopt the resolution number PC 04-24 to forward the exception request by RRMM Architects for New Kent County Fire Station number 6 to the New Kent County Board of Supervisors with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The motion is for a favorable recommendation for the waiver. Roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. LaRochelle,
Aye.
Mr. Moyer,
Abstain.
Ms. Rose. Aye. Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Aye.
Ms. Townsend.
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Reverend Hathaway,
Aye.
Ms. Thomas,
Aye.
Mr. Bennett.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Motion
much.
carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. Next item on the agenda is a chairman's report. I'm going to save my comments until we have our commissioners' reports, and I'll move to Plan RVA. Reverend Hathaway?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple of things. The Plan RVA Commission met on Thursday, this past Thursday, and there were a couple of changes that I wanted to bring to your attention. Chet Parson, who had been the executive director for the Richmond Regional Transportation Planning Organization, was selected to fill the position for Central Virginia Transportation Authority's first executive director. And so that position is vacant. The Plan RV Executive Committee then decided to appoint Martha Schickel as the interim executive director. And they're going to look at that whole position in terms of trying to combine them into one and coming up with the benefit package and all of that by July 1st. And if Mrs. Schickel is selected, then they will make her pay retroactive back to April the 11th. The staff has brought online the SharePoint site, and this is a site, it's pretty much a one-stop shop for all the commission members that you can go and get the past minutes, reports, everything related to our position as a commission member. That's online now. The joint annual meeting, and I really hope you can go to this, the joint annual meeting of the CVTA Plan RVA Commission and RTPO Policy Board is Thursday, June 13th, and it is from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. There'll be reports and presentations during that period. And then after 11, there will be an open house, and it'll be a day of learning as they've shared that with us. They've not completely finished the plans for that, but it looks like it's going to be an exciting day. Last year was the first year that they did it, and so it is open for everyone. I've got some handouts if you are interested in that. I also sit on the Plan RVA Outreach Committee.
Absolutely.
Chairman Tim Davey recommended to us that we get our boards involved in strategic outreach. And one of the things that he shared was what the committee has already done this year. There have been 11 events that they've hosted, bringing partners together to look at how they can do engagement. They've launched a newsletter, a blog, a website. They've conducted a Priority Action Climate Program survey. Hopefully you saw that on their website and participated in that. I know several people did. And they're planning to host 6 Plan RVA nights at the Richmond Flying Squirrels games. And there's an opportunity to get some free tickets if you're interested in that. I did attend the CVTA Long Range Transportation Plan meeting on March the 15th. It was exciting. The place was packed at probably 100 people. They had presentations from different communities on things that they have done well and challenges that they're facing with transportation. And then everybody got an opportunity to take a map and highlight your 2 or 3 top transportation challenges in your locality. My 2, I almost had 3, but my 2 were the Route 60 corridor and Route 249 corridor. Now, there's a hope that once I-64 is completed, that's going to help it. I think it may help, but I don't know how long. And that's it.
Thank you, Reverend Hathaway. Appreciate it.
Oh, wait. Excuse me,
yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
Sure.
I do have another proposal. Workforce housing and affordable housing is becoming a discussion everywhere I go. The school board is talking about it. They're saying that they're getting teachers that come in. This is their first opportunity to teach. They stay long enough to get their certification, and because they can't afford to live in New Kent, they're going back to other metropolitan areas. The fire department and police department are saying the same thing. In fact, in the last board meeting during the citizens' comment period, a number of people stressed the fact that we either need to raise their salaries or do something about the cost of housing. The Plan RVA is really looking at affordable housing. New Kent has a housing advisory committee. Each board member, I think, has appointed 2 members to that, and then staff, and there's several other positions. I'd like to propose that the Planning Commission ask the board to allow us to have 1 member. from the Planning Commission to sit on the Housing Advisory Committee. I think if we're dealing with zoning and housing and all of that, it simply makes sense for us to be at the table.
With that recommendation, Ms. Inman, can I ask you for a question? Is there a way that we can suggest our one of our members to be on that commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I don't see any reason why we couldn't request a member for our representation, on that committee. Absolutely. I mean, I'd be happy to reach out and see what we can do about that.
If you would.
Yeah.
And I'm going to not poll, but I would ask if there are any individuals on this commission that would like to be part of that commission.
I would be interested, Mark.
Okay.
I'd be interested to be a part of that commission as well.
Yes, Mr. Moore.
I will bring it up at the meeting. I'm the board guy.
You're the board guy.
You're the board guy.
For that. Between myself and Amy Pearson, we've been, trying to make sure that we got all those positions filled, and they're all filled now. Amy is also, Ms. Inman's also involved in that. So, to go along with Reverend Hathaway's comments on workforce housing, affordable housing, or essential housing, whichever term you want to use, I was able to be involved in a VCU Zoom meeting on Thursday, and the discussion was about that. And a number of people discussed things about housing and what are the problems right now. And a couple of the things are tough. And Amy, you don't.
Okay.
I'll belabor this because we kind of can today. Okay. The things about workforce housing, especially in areas like ours, there is somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000, and Jake would know, of regulations, connection fees, and that before you even start construction, along with the amount of infrastructure that needs to be done. So when it comes down to it, the box, meaning the house, the 14 or 1,600 square foot house, is about $180,000. Okay, that's construction. So we're not going to be able to do single family housing to make those single family housing affordable for workforce essential. It's going to have to be something else. And I know that high density is something that is going to have to be
right back up here at this table when that happens.
And they come to us, and then we have to look at those things. But when you talk about that single family house and that the cost of that, that means that would sell for $250 maybe. Okay, that house, $250. That means you've got to make somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000 to afford that. The problem with that $250, they'll sell that the next year for $350.
Right, the way the market.
Okay, so because how the market is right now, and that's not, nobody's at fault for that. That's just how this market is right now, and yes, it everywhere I go to, it is discussed, and and everybody's trying to figure out what can be done. And I know we got some people on this board that would be of great influence. I have two really good people on my committee. On the committee that I've appointed, and there's a number of other good people that everybody else is appointed to. So it will be, to be frank about it, if that advisory board comes to us, meaning to Planning Commission, to the Board of Supervisors, and says, this is what we advise, this is what we've seen, this is we've polled the people of New Kent County, well, that's going to be on us then to act. But if we don't have that kind of committee, it's tough for us to act. It's usually the squeaky wheel or and one of the discussions was not in my backyard. How do we deal with not in my backyard? And it is, something that hopefully with the comprehensive plan and the revision of zoning, we can change that attitude on that. So those are the things, I see, and hopefully we can work on the next several years. Because we may not have any new developments that are going to be approved, but we have a lot of developments that haven't even broken ground yet that will be here, and those are not in the affordable workforce or essential housing thing. So we have work to do.
So I think
Thank you.
we've tugged on your ear enough for
Yep.
having that seat.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
There are some options that I think are available. I came off the Planning Commission in 2003. I think it was around 2005. The board asked several members to help draft, they said, an affordable housing policy for the county. It took us about 14 to 16 months to do it because there were no rural affordable housing policies that we could use as a model. So we basically began from scratch. We decided early on to change the language because the moment you mentioned affordable housing, for good or bad, the connotation is low-income housing. We were not talking about low-income housing. We recognize when you look at the fact that the median housing cost in New Kent right now is $437,000. Correct. If you bring a $250,000 house online, I promise you that's affordable. And so I think revisiting that plan that we put together and looking at that, I think that at least begins the model to talk about how we can do some workforce housing.
Thank you, sir.
I'll finish and then I'm done. These are different things. One, May 7th is the dedication, and we're going to call it dedication of the Patricia Page Memorial Highway sign, and that will be at the eastbound Visitor Center on I-64 at noon on May 7th. The list of invitees is everywhere from senators to governors, that all kinds of people, and we expect a very nice crowd. And I think it kind of worked out that it was delayed. It'd probably even be a better situation. Second of all, I got caught last night coming home from Short Pump and didn't think about putting on the GPS. And I am warning everybody that please put your GPS on if you're coming back into the county on I-64. It is a lot earlier that they're changing it to one lane than I thought they were. And it's so easy to take 60 as an exit, for us if you're coming from the north side of 295. But we should make that comment to our citizens that please, look out for that. It can cut down the amount of people that say, man, I got caught again, or, let the people from New York get caught in that, okay? We can take 60 and we deserve to be on 60, so. I'm done.
Well, Mr. Moyer segued ourselves into the commissioner's reports. Thank you for starting that, sir. If I may do this through roll call, Mr. LaRochelle, do you have anything, sir?
One question I would have for Ms. Inman, based on the issue that was on the agenda today, the waiver request, would it be wise then to look at the overlay now and possibly refine it to exempt municipal buildings or anything like that so that we don't have to go through this again?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Luttershaw. I think that'll be an appropriate thing for us to look at when we do our rewrite of our code and our zoning for sure. Definitely. Thank you.
Ms. Thomas, anything for Commissioner's report?
Not at the moment.
Thank you very much. Ms. Johnson?
No, not at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Townsend?
One spot that I'd still want to remind our Board of Supervisors to keep full steam is intersection dispatch 249.
So at the transportation meeting last Wednesday, the plans are there. Now we got to find the funding for the roundabout at 249 and 60. Okay, so that's the next thing
As
we're
long as we
working
try
on.
to stay away from the peanut funding that we
No,
have.
I think it's,
on
I think it's
155.
a pure roundabout. The reason why I think roundabout work better there, because there are, 1, 2, 3, I think there's 5 entrances that has to be looked at. There's one road that goes to a private house off that. So the roundabout can be 6 or 7 entrances if you need it. And I think it would work. I think that's why they think the roundabout would work. And this is all VDOT engineering that said we need that. So they didn't want to put a light in because there were no, and this is how they were. There were no fatal crashes, so we didn't need a light. You know,
Isn't that horrible?
so yeah,
Somebody needs to die for us to
But
get
at
that
least they realized that left turn or turning on dispatch, left or right, it doesn't matter, is a problem. So they are addressing it. And the light at Marketplace and 60, the dedication for that will be November 14th. So.
You answered my question because I was going to ask about that for the constituents. Nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Ms.
Chairman, can I
Oh,
jump back in? So one thing in a previous meeting that Ms. Townsend suggested was a possibility of adding another ramp off of 64 onto Airport Drive to mitigate some of the traffic on 249. I think that's fabulous. And I don't know how the study would begin for that to be researched, if that's a viable proposal. But I think that would take a lot of the initial traffic off of 249 and ease some of that congestion right there. So I think that's a great idea to look into.
I just know that the state's gonna come back and say that it's a financial burden for them. But sometimes you have to bite the bullet and do what's best for the citizens.
I think that widening Airport Road, if it was needed to accommodate that traffic, would be a lot easier than widening 249 to alleviate traffic.
I agree.
So I think
Agreed.
that's a great idea.
And there's also, if I could make another comment, John, if you could give us an update on the 211 interchange, because I know that there's some changes that are happening with that interchange, and what will that be? Because that's going to be a little bit of a, not going to look like it does right now.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, Mr.
Ms.
Dombrowski.
Inman.
Very great question, very timely question. So on exit 211, there's been a lot of progress that has been made. We've looked at all the different alternatives, design alternatives. We have selected the diverging diamond as the preferred alternative. That will be the longer range option that we're working on right now, gathering the funding. We've been submitting applications for funding. And Buc-ee's will be making an interim improvement that will be a signalized diamond. So basically, when you come up, you'll have signals, and that will help to control the traffic a little better. So that's currently, where we are right now, the status of the project. But we're moving along. The report, the interchange access report, which is required for any new interchanges or any changes to an interchange, is making its way through VDOT and through the review and approval process. So I feel like we're in pretty good shape in terms of where we're going to need to be for our smart scale. We applied for $44 million for the interchange 2 weeks ago.
That sounds like to me that interchange will then, if you ride 64 to the west, the 211 interchange will become like Zion's Crossroads, is what we'll be looking at. It'll be very, very similar. It'll be a destination. So that's a good thing for us here in the county to drive some revenue.
Yeah, thank you.
Just before Ms. Rose, Mr. LaRochelle, Ms. Townsend, with regards to the suggestion by Ms. Townsend 2 months ago, I passed that information or that suggestion along to the consultant with the comprehensive plan. I did ride out there to just make a visual observation. I think there's some hurdles that have to be taken under with doing something like that, especially with the improvement of Airport Road north to New Kent Highway, because that road is, for additional traffic, it would be substandard, tremendously substandard. We're looking at several miles of that. And then the second thing, I think that'll be the next hurdle, is there are 2 residential structures fairly nearby on opposite sides of that interchange, potential interchange, that that will have to be dealt with. For long-range planning, if those properties come up for sale, maybe procure those for that interchange, but I think it's a little bit early right now, but it's a good idea nonetheless. Yes, Ms. Rose?
Well, I was just going to ask Ms. Inman, what's the timetable? You mentioned Buc-ee's is going to put some interim measures in place. What's the forecast
The timeframe for that?
Divergent diving?
So as we see it right now, Ms. Rose, they're still planning to open in 2027. So my understanding is they'll continue to work through the IAR and having that approval process. Then they'll need to do an environmental, some version of environmental. They'll work with VDOT and Federal Highway on that. Then once that's, they have all of their approvals, then they'll need to coordinate with the 64 widening as well as the reconstruction of the 106 bridge that's going to be happening. So there's a lot of activity that will be happening on 106 over the next few years. Okay. So, but their anticipated schedule is still 2027. For our full build of the DDI, we're looking at 2030 timeframe. Right now, that's just the way the money's lining up, and the signalized diamond that Buc-ee's will be constructing should be sufficient for that amount of time until we can get the full build in terms of handling the congestion and the backups.
And that will be during the construction of the new bridge, the new overpass, correct?
Correct. They will need to, that's right. There's a full reconstruction of the 106 bridge that was already funded previously, but VDOT was very gracious in moving the schedule up on that reconstruction and to time it with Buc-ee's and everything else that's going on. So I do believe they'll make their schedule, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the only other questions I had, Ms. Townsend and Mr. La Rochelle.
Okay.
I already asked them, so I'm good.
Reverend Hathaway? I'm good. Thank you. Mr. Davis?
We'll be reporting on the comp plan update steering committee. So EPR, our vendor, they met with department heads on March 20th. I was unable to attend that day, so Ms. Inman, fill in a few things if I didn't get. I got email from Todd Gordon, but the consultants met with all the county department heads, department directors as a group, and they met to discuss the goals and strategies aspect of the comprehensive plan. The department heads also provided input on draft comp plan goals, and I think that was an item in of itself. The number of goals that previous comp plans have is just so daunting. You can't never. So the goals, the number of goals, and the goals themselves have to certainly be achievable. So I think that was a topic as well. The consultants are meeting, or I guess they were supposed to meet with the follow-up with the department heads. Has that occurred, Ms. Inman? Or individually? Okay. And the next steps for the comp plan will include presenting draft goals and strategies to the plan, to the steering committee for input. And they're also drafting the plan text and working on supporting maps as well. So anything else to add, Ms. Inman? I apologize for missing that meeting. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I was at that meeting with Ms. Inman and I think 12 department heads or so, and it was very interesting to hear how vocal they could be. I will tell you, we probably have some of the best staff and department heads. They're not looking out for themselves, they're looking out for everybody. Some of the common themes of the department head were staffing, having adequate staff, securing adequate staff, and making sure they stay around. Workforce housing was the big item, and then future legislation. The legislation doesn't suddenly appear, it develops over time, and they are watchful of that, and they just needed time to make those adjustments. They're looking out for us. So it was very interesting. One other thing, as this comprehensive plan comes to a close, it should be coming to close in about the next 6 months or so, I believe. Maybe by the end of the year. maybe
for a
quarter,
pretty close
quarter.
product anyway.
Yeah, maybe first quarter of next year. We started something and it got kind of segued because it was a little bit too early in the process, but we will be going into a zoning and ordinance rewrite after the comprehensive plan has been evaluated and approved. And again, those people who participated in the comprehensive plan, I would encourage you to be ready and available and volunteer for those items that we need to look at and consider for the zoning and the ordinance rewrite to support the comprehensive plan. We had a couple people volunteer last time. I know it was early. I apologize for getting involved too early, but hopefully you'll re-energize your thoughts about doing that again. That's all I have. Staff reports. We brought you up here many times. Ms. Inman, are you ready for one more time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to bring to your attention that the American Planning Association, the Virginia chapter, will be having our annual conference in July in Williamsburg. And we're still working out the details, but there will be a planning commission training associated with that. So just wanted to put that on your radar. It'll be July 21st through the 23rd. So I'll have more information for you coming up.
Thank you very much. And don't go away. Okay. I'm going, as I announce our next meeting, have any applications been accepted that maybe we would have a meeting, or do we know?
I don't believe we have any at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry?
Didn't look like anything was queued up on
Okay, thank you.
that list.
All right. So if there's nothing else, I will announce that the next meeting is scheduled for May 20th, 6:30 p.m. in this room. And if there's no items before this commission, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to adjourn.
Accepted. Thank you very much for attending tonight.
In a way, I hope we don't have a meeting next month. I'm going to be in Virginia Beach that day. I don't want to drive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
House sit, dog sit. Friend of mine. Come back if I have to. Doesn't sound like we're going.
Different things that, I go to the CPTA and I go to the RM.
Thank you, everybody.
Did they make an enhancement?
It's just different, that we do. So, and then it's good to have somebody there.
Be careful going home.
Yeah.